Well, welcome back to the Finding Something Real podcast. I am joined today with a lot of special friends, and one of them is Janell, our regular host. This is Sarah speaking right now, one of the co-hosts of Season 8. And we just wanted to gather to hear a little bit more from Janell. Okay, so good morning, everybody. Should we all go around and introduce ourselves?
My name is Frankie, and I was also one of the co-hosts of Season 8.
Hi, my name is Raina. I'm Kaylee.
I'm Anna.
Okay, and we wanted to ask Janell some questions. We're going to flip the script today, and she's in the hot seat. So I'll just start off. I have been wondering, because you will refer sometimes to, yes, I was that girl who had the questions, and that is a lot of why you're doing this ministry now, for the girl in the back pew, the girl who is questioning and doubting. And I would love to hear from you what that season of your life looked like and how the Lord has worked through it and changed you.
All right. It's really funny when you asked if we could do this, what was it, like a month ago? You said, I'm thinking that we should flip the script and, make you answer questions. It was so weird because that very day or the day before, that thought had crossed my mind, like, oh, that would be really cool. And so when you asked, I felt like, oh, okay, fine. I'll listen to you, Lord. I grew up in a Christian home. I remember accepting Jesus when I was very young. I used to say 3 years old. That seems really young, but I think I was. I remember being very anxious even as a child. Like, did it take? Is my salvation good? Am I not going to be going to hell? I saw in my mother, who had come to faith when she was 16 from a very emotionally abusive environment. Her family was not believers, and her dad was very cold and cruel. And her mom, there were just attachment issues for my mother. So, but the one thing my mom had was Jesus, and still has. And she would get up early in the morning. And I'm going to get emotional. We've been doing this retreat. I'm so tired, you guys. This is so funny, but it'll be the real thing. And she'd get up early in the morning and she would faithfully read the Word of God. And so my little brother and I have two older half sisters, and they're 9 and 11 years older than me, and they were often out doing teenage things. My oldest sister, she left home when I was 3. I was very attached to her. No, I was 4. She was my favorite person in the world, and very nurturing towards me. I've never talked about this like this. It's fine. Not publicly anyway. And her leaving, and my mom having grown up, having hard attachment things. My sister was very motherly towards me and tender, and then was in and out of my life. Even though we had a great relationship, when I became a mom, when I was little, I was just very annoying. And so the honest truth is I didn't know whether she liked me. And I felt, and my dad had come to faith when he was, I think, a young man, but he also went through some very, very hard things. And I probably shouldn't go into all of that, but he was very bitter and very angry with himself. And so when my mom, who's 13 years younger than him, met a very broken man, she shared with him her passion for Jesus, who she had found when she was 16 years old. And my dad, he's like, well, God can't forgive a man like me. And my mom said, well, yes, he can. Think about Paul. And she's, exploring the scriptures with him. And he's like, oh, Shannon, I don't know. He kind of was dismissive. And the next day, his alarm clock went off. And the story goes that he didn't know why it was on a Christian station or whatever, but whoever was preaching and the alarm went off, it was about Paul. And so he thought, well, I better go to church with Shannon today. And they ended up going to a church in Bellevue. And guess what the sermon was about? Paul. And so you take two people who were broken but loved Jesus and wanted Jesus, and a messy situation, and I came along, and my two beautiful older sisters, I just adored them. And I just wanted their love and affection, to the point where I ignored my little brother. I felt so broken and rejected and alone, even as a little girl. And so on the one hand, I loved Jesus. On the other hand, why did I hate myself so much? What did I do to feel so unlovable? Thanks, Sarah. You might have to edit this. I don't know if it's okay for us to post this, but I feel peace about it, so it's fine. Anyway, we'll have to pray about that after. If my sisters see this later, I love you. Anyway, but that's how I felt. And, the enemy gets in with those lies. I was a little girl, very passionate about Jesus. I believed my mom when she said that he was the answer. But I had this false dichotomy, like this thing, like if Jesus really does bring restoration, eternity, authenticity, and love, and all these amazing things, then why do I feel so ugly inside? Why do I feel so rejected? And so I escaped into dream world. I was obsessed with boys. I would still tell people about Jesus all the time, but inside I still had that self-hatred. I could say a lot of Christianese. I knew the Bible inside and out. My mom, she was faithful. She took us to church all the time. She loves Jesus. And anyway, and by the time I was 16, I found a boy that actually liked me back, which there was a long line of ones that didn't. So, and we started dating when I was 16. And, you know, I just remember it was this on again, off again kind of relationship. And every time he rejected me, it was like I just wanted him more, because I had this like rejection complex. Like, let me overcome your rejection with making you love me. And so I kept going back to him. And I still, my husband knows this, but sometimes I'll have dreams about him, and it's always rejection. And anyway, we dated on again and off again. And in college, I was still that girl who I'd been going to church forever. One important part of my story is that I had a youth pastor and his wife, Janice, his name's Jonathan, who deeply impacted my life by the way they loved people. And they not only said all these things, but the way that they just gave in and out, like it was just incredible. The way they shepherded young people. There was this tenderness and this hope in Jesus that felt so real and authentic. Not that I didn't see that in my parents, and not that I didn't hear about that, but there was something that felt very peaceful about the way they modeled Jesus. That was unique to me in some ways. And so I was really, really drawn to them. In fact, I remember the community that I had in high school because of that youth group. And there were hundreds of kids who were impacted by their ministry. Just seeing kids who loved Jesus and how they were just relentlessly pursuing him and worshiping him. And I wanted what they had. I wanted that. But inside, I still felt like I didn't really have it, which was weird, And it's not that I didn't have like mountaintop moments, because I did. And I had something real with Jesus. I absolutely did. But by the time I was in college, my boyfriend, when we were dating again, he was agnostic. He was like, I don't know if I even believe this is true. I was trying to convince him it's true. The Discovery Institute came and did a presentation at our university, and I remember dragging him to it. But I knew enough of scripture to know this isn't right, And I remember just telling God, you can have this relationship. And then the next day we broke up, and I was really mad about that. because I didn't really mean it when I said that he could have it. And so then I went back to this boy, and I remember knowing I was living in this disobedience. And I remember just being like, God, I want him more. I want him more. Because here's somebody who really actually seems to love me. I mean, he's showing it. And I don't know that you really love me, basically. I mean, I don't know that I would have verbalized it, but that's how I felt. And, sin, things that separate us from God, it feels good for a time, but it just leads to destruction. And so after about 6 months of that back and forth and being rejected over and over and over again by the same boy, I came to the end of myself, like I had nothing. So then I ended up, this is you're getting the long meandering thing. We may get checked out. You guys are okay? You're okay with this? Okay. I've never shared all this with you guys. No. Okay. All right. So yeah, I kept on like pursuing something that I knew God had closed the door for. And when he finally broke my heart the last time, or, whatever, there was this little chapel on campus. I went to a Christian university. And even though I had the secret life, which I knew then, like there was like this whole, just because you go to a Christian university, just because you say you've got it all together, just because you can say all the right answers doesn't mean squat. Being religious is very different from being surrendered. But it wasn't that I didn't surrender, but what happened was I went in like complete brokenness to that chapel, just pouring out, but I felt like I had to earn him. I felt like I had to earn Jesus back. I felt like he was so disappointed in me. So I worked really hard. In fact, I wrote an article for the school paper. I went to church. We did mission trips, this kind of thing. One mission trip to Costa Rica. And I moved across country. In fact, I did not do like writing. I did psychology as a major because I thought that was the more like honorable thing to do with your life. My life at that time was all about shoulds. You should do this. You should do that. And a good Christian should, go to church all the time and read their Bible all the time and, whatever. And I was shoulding really good for a while. And there's a lot of shoulders in the church. And only God knows most of that. But I would say we do a good job of allowing shoulding. And anyway, I met my husband in that season a couple years later in grad school. My husband is a very kind man. I was really drawn to him. And I remember I was drawn to him because of his vulnerability. My husband, Brian, has Tourette syndrome. You would never know, and he speaks openly about it. But, I remember him sharing that at grad school one time, and it was a evening program for adults. And he shared it in front of the whole class, and I thought, who is this guy? He's kind of interesting. I thought he was kind of dorky, to be honest. I wasn't really that attracted to him. But I remember thinking, I want to go up and just like affirm like his authenticity. This is really cool. And so I went up to him after class and I was like, that's so cool that you opened up about your Tourette's. I have anxiety. I worry all the time, have panic attacks. And he was like, oh. I was like, who is this guy? Like, I just told you something really raw and vulnerable that really means a lot to me. And you're acting like it's no big deal. My anxiety had been such a big deal in my life that I almost did not go to grad school. I was so afraid I was disqualified. I would sit in the back row and feel like I was a total imposter. I'd have to run to the bathroom. My anxiety was I felt like I had to pee all the time. In fact, your mom came and rescued me one time. Your mom is a great rescuer. I miss her a lot. Anyway, so that season of my life was really hard. And here comes this man who's super steady. And I thought, he seems like a kind of a nice guy, and he kind of seems he likes me. And I remember one time thinking, I'm going to put my name in for a raffle at our work. I worked in downtown Seattle all the time. I love materialistic things. Naturally, by my sin nature, I like a lot of nice things. I wanted to live in New York and be famous and all these things, which is partly why, even though I knew I had communication skills as a little girl, I was like, oh, that's the bad side of me. I'm not going to expose any of that. So anyway, where was I? I don't remember. Oh, thank you. So we had some really special people behind the scenes there that we're not paying attention to. Anyway, yeah. Okay. So I worked downtown Seattle at this engineering firm with people that were very left brain. I'm very right brain. And they would woo people by having really good tickets to the Mariners games. And so I put my name in for the raffle because when like out of town guests weren't there, they would let employees put their name in. And I had a lot of guys that I was kind of interested at the time in. And I thought, well, if I win this raffle, I am going to invite Brian Wood to come with me. Because I noticed that he had prayed in class one night. And here's the thing. When I was 15 years old, I had read this great book. I was a real romantic dreamer, where the main character she had written letters to her future husband. And I was so inspired by that because that was the cool thing, right? And so I would write letters every once in a while to my future husband. And so anyway, I remember Brian prayed in class one time. And I went home and I was like, I could marry a man like that. And so I was intrigued by him. And then when I won that raffle, I took him to the Mariners game. And it was kind of this back and forth thing. For the first time in my life, I was kind of interested in a guy who seemed way more interested in me. And I wasn't sure I liked that. I wasn't sure because I'd always been the pursuer. So for someone to pursue me felt really, really awkward. And so we got married, even though I still wasn't sure. I remember like a month before, I was like, are we sure we're doing the right thing? Because sometimes I was like, I don't know. And he's like, what are you doing to us? And he was so steady. Any other man, I think, would have run away. But like, and he probably should have, to be honest. I was not kind sometimes. And I would anyway, there's a lot of stories there. But anyway, we got married. And I quickly realized, wait a second, this is really hard. He is not the end all be all of my dreams. He is not Cary Grant. The movies, if anyone's watching this, they lie to you. It is not happily ever after. Marriage is hard. And so I thought, well, what would fix this? Let's have a baby. Mm-hmm. And so try to get pregnant right away. And I just have this incredible fear. I'm going to lose this baby. I'm going to have a miscarriage. And there was no reason to think that. I just have anxiety. And, at that point, I really owned that anxiety. That was part of my makeup. That was me. My favorite verse at the time was Philippians 4, 6, and 7. I memorized it because I had to. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. That was my verse, and I would quote it, but I didn't really do it, But anyway, where was I? What was I saying? Oh, the baby. So yeah, let's get pregnant. So I was pregnant. And we started telling people I had morning sickness, and we go into the first appointment and there's no heartbeat. Wait, what? I'll never forget the look on my husband's face. And he called my parents and he was like, it was just horrific. It was horrific to be in that situation. Apparently our baby had passed and my body didn't know. That morning I'd had morning sickness. And because they thought that it had happened a couple weeks before, they had me come in the next day for a procedure, a DNC. And my little brother showed up. I'll never forget that he showed up for that. And it was just so painful. And I felt so rejected by God because I was like, I did my part. Why didn't you do yours? I should have, and I did. Why didn't you? And so let's get pregnant again, right? So we got pregnant again. Same thing happened. And I had begged God. By this point, I was working for King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. I was an advocate for women in crisis, domestic violence victims, and a bunch of women that I worked with. We called them fertile myrtles. They could have as many babies as they wanted, it seemed, even though their husbands or boyfriends seemed abusive. And I really judged that. I thought, how could you give a baby to somebody who's going to abort it or who's going to let that baby be beat, and you won't give one to me? I was so mad at God. And then one of my coworkers who had just gotten married, they accidentally got pregnant, and she told me, I was one of the first people she told, and I just remember feeling like, this is so unfair. And so I remember one night just turning to my husband and saying, are you sure that God's real? How do you know? And that was a question I would have never, ever voiced. I was the girl on the front pew. I was the girl who got up and sang and did all the things. I should've very well. But in that moment, it exposed a heart posture of just like, I did my end of the bargain. Why didn't you do yours? And my husband met me with this peace and not judgment. He loved me really well in that moment. And he didn't know it at the time, neither did I, but he introduced me to apologetics when he said, I'm a science guy. He was a science teacher for many years. He said, for every action, there's an equal reaction. I know there's evil in this world. That means there's an ultimate good. And anyway, long story short, we had a baby a year later through some fertility treatments, and we didn't do IVF, but we had to go to a clinic and do all this invasive stuff and go for a year. We had prayed, God, please don't let us get pregnant again. He was gracious, and we didn't get pregnant again until we got pregnant with our son, Caleb. And then we had another miscarriage and another miscarriage and another one very early. And finally, my mom was like, hey, there's this church service where you can go and you can pray for a baby. They've been doing it all the time at Cedar Park Christian Church, I think is the name of it, in Bothell. And I was like, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. And there was this moment. I know that I've already answered your question, but I want to add this part because it's important. We had gone back to the fertility clinic, and I was so mad at Brian because he had changed our insurance, and we couldn't afford the fertility clinic. So our last resort was to go to this prayer service. And I dropped off our baby, who was a year and a half at the time, I think, Caleb, and my parents, because I didn't want to seem greedy. Right? Like I didn't want to ask God for too much. And we show up at the service, and I was really grateful for Caleb, right? But I felt so needy. I remember we go there, and people stood up and they said, hey, and someone told me right before we went, they're like, you better change your attitude or God's not going to bless you. And I was trying to should myself again, right? Like, better have a better attitude. And we went there, and that is not what we encountered. There was no shame. It was, you probably came in feeling like forgotten, feeling like you don't belong, that kind of thing, feeling like this is the last place you want to be. But we're here to believe for you. The pastor talked about the man who was lowered by his friends on the mat. And he said nowhere in the Bible, and that story is told 3 times. I looked it up later. I had to know. Jesus is in this crowded house, and these people want so desperately to get their paralyzed friend to Jesus, knowing that one touch from him and he can heal this man. And they loved their friend enough that they climbed the steps of this house. They cut a hole in someone else's roof, and they lowered their friend to Jesus. And Jesus, seeing the beautiful faith of those friends, he healed the man. And the pastor said, we're here to be those friends for you today. And then they played Oh, How He Loves Us, and people had gotten up and shared their testimonies, and my husband grabs my hand, and I thought, I don't want to go forward. I don't want to expose my need. I still had so much pride. And we went forward and we prayed, and 9 months later we had my daughter. But what happened between those 9 months, and then I started bleeding with my daughter, Naomi. And I remember just coming to this point like, God, we would not have tried to get pregnant again if we hadn't been to that service, if we hadn't experienced your peace going forward, if we hadn't like taken it to the altar. So either way, I'm blaming you. Either way, I'm going with you. You get the glory. Either way, I choose you. And that, I don't know that it sounded that articulate then, but when I tell people when I talk that I blame him, like that was a surrender thing. I was going to take him with me no matter what, just as I was, broken or whatever. And I told him that I'd be faithful to share what happened and what he did. So that was my place of surrender when I was 30 years old. I came to faith when I was 3. I came to surrender when I was 30. Long answer to your question.
Janelle, I'm just blown away listening to you. I love that you are a dreamer. Look around, like you have done this. You you have dreams and you trust the Lord with them, and they've come to fruition. And we're all here because of you. Thank you for your vulnerability.
You're not here because of me. You're here because God is relentless in his pursuit of people. I remember, I just love you girls. I wanted to share this with you. Can I be like all bossy? Yeah. I just did, right? I remember listening to a sermon. I think I've shared this with you guys before, but Tim Keller, I love him. He's really encouraged me. And he passed away a couple of years ago, pastor of Redeemer Presbyterian Church in New York, probably in New York. I just, whatever. But he has this whimsical way of relating to the skeptic and the seeker as well as the believer. And he doesn't water down the gospel, but he's relentless in including them. I just love him. And I remember him talking about the gospel. And he said the gospel is like two friends who go to a shop, to a friend of theirs and say, hey, we're going to go rob a bank. And the friend says, are you crazy? And he reaches out to grab both of them. And one of them gets away and the other one goes. The one goes and gets his life ruined because he goes and robs the shop or whatever, robs the bank and ends up in prison. And the one who was grabbed recognizes that nothing would have stopped him had it not been for that friend reaching out and grabbing him. Jesus grabbed me. He grabbed me. I have nothing but him. I would have ended up with a boy who rejected me over and over and over again and spent my life in pursuit of something that was never going to measure up to Jesus. I full on was like, this is better. And he didn't let me go. So how could I not have a heart for people who just like me, He has been so kind and so gracious to me. How could I not tell people about that? That's something real. He took a rejected little girl who felt so alone. And he showed me that my faint fragment of who he was wasn't the real thing. That if I just looked a little deeper, if I allowed him to just overwhelm me with his love, that I could find the real thing. I am not that rejected little girl anymore. I am not that anxious little girl anymore. I am not the girl who doesn't know who she's anchored in. I know the anchor holds. I know he holds for you and you and you and you and you and Janine and Christy and Caitlin and anyone else watching this. He is the real thing. I discovered that when I was 30 years old. It is a daily walk with him. It is hard, but it's not hard in the sense that it's hard on us. It's hard to just surrender. That's all it is. It's saying, Jesus, I can't, but I trust you can. And so it is. I know that you could ask me more questions, but I just want to take the opportunity to say, like, in sharing, like commissioning, whatever, after you guys have been part of this season for the past 10 months. Do not waste what he's poured out on you by keeping it in. Be bold in pursuing the people that he has put in your path to love. Who cares if they reject you? Rejection hurts. It's hard when people say, I don't want a relationship with you for whatever reason. But do you know, like, who does all the time? Your maker. And he is more than enough. He is more than enough. I remember going to the tattoo shop and we shared the gospel with Alyssa, a young woman who worked there. We talked about this story on Shelley Strickland's episode. And she had been through all this brokenness. And my friend, Susie, she shared explicitly the gospel. Susie's Baptist. She had it like all, like this whole thing. It was so cute. And I was sitting there thinking, Susie, if you're watching this is my true judgment. I was like, I would not do it this way. But then I'm like, surrender, Janell, surrender. God's using her giftings. We each have unique giftings that he uses in a unique way. It's just about surrendering what he's given us. And so this Alyssa, she listened. And for a moment, she was, receiving it. And then there was something inside of her that just said, it's not enough. He's not enough, And she rejected it. And I just think so often it's just trusting him that he actually is who he says he is. My life changed when I believed that he is who he actually says he is. In scripture, it's all over the place. A great Bible study. I know she's considered a controversial person now in some conservative circles, but I'm just going to say it. I think I don't understand that. Beth Moore did a great Bible study years ago called Believing God. It changed my life. I remember that. Just starting to read, do you believe he is who he says he is in scripture? Read the word and see, is it true? Is this true? Turns out it is. So, yeah.
Praise the Lord. You are a walking testimony, and we just are so grateful for you. I think I'm going to remember this moment forever. And we're like, we could all be a puddle of tears right now.
You know what's funny about this? I'm supposed to be somewhere else right now. I don't even know what time it is. My watch is dead. I have no... Perfect. It's fine. I'm moderating something in a couple minutes. It's so funny. You would not have gotten this kind of emotion or candor probably if we had done it any other time. And I remember one of the times I went to speak one time, a more seasoned speaker, she said to me, Janell, it's okay that you didn't get any sleep last night. You'll be fine. She goes, because your emotions will be more raw and more real, and God will use that. He will use however you show up. You are not going to get it right all the time. That's okay. It's just surrender. That's it. The anchor holds. That verse that we have on the back of all our t-shirts which, by the way, if you're watching this, maybe you can get that on our new website that Sarah Bronsky designed and Anna did. And anyway, we may have a merch thing. I don't know. But we got these t-shirts. Was that a shameless plug? It's just true. You should get a t-shirt. And they say finding something real across the front. But on the back, it says, those who look to him are radiant. Their faces are never covered in shame. So however you show up, there's a promise, right? When we look to him, we're radiant. We don't need to be fearing what other people think. So go and be bold. Don't water down the gospel. It is life. It's all we have. It's the hope of heaven and to be with our Savior, to see him one day face to face. Can you imagine one day? It's pretty cool. So I'll leave it to you if you all want to say something. I don't know, but I really thank you for making me do this. Yeah.
I'm going to pass the mic around. Any thoughts, feedback?
Don't really have much significant to add, but I've never heard your story before, so it was amazing. I think it was a great idea to flip the script, and I'm so glad that it popped up in both of your heads. And yeah, it's just, I really appreciate your honesty and just showing that this is real, in that way. It's really helpful to hear.
I totally agree. I also have not heard your full story. I think I've heard bits and pieces, but hearing it all in one, I'm just in awe, I think, and just enamored by what the Lord has done and also how faithful you've been to Him since having gone through all that. I really aspire to have the level of vulnerability that you do. And I'm not there yet, but God willing, one day. And um, yeah, gosh, I am just so amazed by how the Lord has moved and worked and just look at what He's done. Like, so incredible to watch and to see. So thank you.
I've also never heard your full story before. And yeah, just thank you so much for sharing. And it was amazing to hear. And I agree that it was such a good idea to do this, and I'm so glad we did. Um, yeah, I agree with Raina. Like, I just aspire to have also your faith, and just, and I know it does take a lot to get there sometimes, but um, yeah, I think your story is just so amazing, and I'm glad that you're sharing it with us, but also sharing all of this with us. It's yeah, I love you so much.
I have heard also like Raina like bits and pieces, but I think it it puts it into perspective when you zoom out and just like see how God has been so faithful in every stage of your life. And yeah, I'm so inspired by you, and I think this is a perfect way to wrap things up because I think it just inspires us to be bold about our faith, and it like you're living proof, like you're a testimony of like that God is who He says He is, and that we can share that with other people. Like I think um even with if you've grown up in the faith, it can be so easy to just withhold that, but like the gift is to give it out, like everything that God has poured into you, to pour it out to other people. So I think that's just such a great way to like wrap it up, and I'm just so inspired by you. I love you.
I love all of you. And since the mic is still close to me, I'm going to just take one more opportunity here. They can wait over there at the church. I just want to honor the people in my life, and I know how the enemy works. This won't go out unless my sisters are okay with it. But I also just want to say, like, I want to honor them in that. You recognize as you keep walking with Jesus, we're just all flawed human beings, and we don't see the full picture. You don't see how somebody's hurt and their pain can impact other people. And so I just would highly encourage all of us to have a lot of grace for ourselves and for others because, man, we just need it. We need more of that. More like, man, we're just imperfect people. And all we can do is surrender to the one who gave it all for us. So I love each of you. Please be praying for the next season. Lord willing, we'll be starting in August, and by the time this airs, we'll have a way of vetting and preparing and interviewing people who might be interested in that. But if you are watching this and you're like, I want to be part of this, there's ways to apply. Probably reach out to Anna here and we'll figure out how to do that. But this has been an incredible journey of just trying to listen to the Lord and saying yes to the next thing. And look what He's done. This was not my idea. This was one step at a time and just saying, what next, Jesus? What next? And you guys are living testimonies. You are. And your vulnerability in our weakness, He is stronger. And that's a promise, right? So anyway, I love you. Close us out.
Well, we have to finish with our final question. And I just want to say first, thank you, Janell. You are an encourager. We're inspired by your obedience, and we love you. You're a connector, and God has gifted you so much. Thank you for using that. We honor you for that. The Finding Something Real podcast is about finding something real with Jesus. REAL is an acronym. It stands for restoration, eternity, authenticity, and love. Which one of those stands out to you the most in your life right now, and why?
Oh, that's not the person I was worried about. Okay. I was like, I was thinking, so literally I'm supposed to moderate something at 10:30, but thankfully we had someone here who was headed over there, so hopefully the word got around that I'm on my way, but we're just a little late. Okay, it was somebody else. I thought for sure they were like, where are you? Okay, you don't need to edit that out. Well, let's just leave it. It'll be fine. Yeah. Oh man, restoration, eternity, authenticity, and love. I don't want to get into a long story. This is like, there should be a part 2 someday. Restoration. Restoration over there. I just see God working. You know, his timing is not our timing. We want things right now. There are just so many nights when you pray for something. Maybe it's for a friend. Maybe it's for a family member. And you're praying and you're praying and you're praying and you just want to give up. In Galatians 6:9, Jonathan and Janice, this was their verse. Do not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Like, that is true. And Jesus also told the parable of the widow who went before the judge and just kept on. She was so annoying. And Jesus said, even though the judge wasn't godly, he listened because he was just like, I'm done hearing from this person. And he says, always give up, never stop praying. And last year I had a moment where that just became like, there was some breakthrough in my life, in my family of origin. And I just remember thinking, wow, Lord, you did. And I don't see the final picture, but I know it's on its way. I see it and I trust it and I keep praying for it. And I can't wait to continue to see that restoration, because when we all get to heaven, there will be no more tears. There will be no more sorrow. There will be complete restoration. But on this side of eternity, we can still pray for it and still experience glimmers of it. And I'm excited for that. So keep praying for the people that you love. Keep praying for the things that you long for. Keep asking God, being relentless for it. It doesn't mean he's not at work. So that's what I would say.
Until next time.